And we are live. Let's just go live on Instagram as well, and then we can dive into our live today. All right. Hey, you guys. So I know I teased you quite a bit for the past few days, and so it's it's finally here. Her protein is here. It's now available. Just head over to wellena.com and you will see it there. So bring on your protein questions, whatever they might be. And let me know also, can you hear me okay? Is there like a bit of a wind effect? How is I'm hoping it's not too much of a sound, because I am in a beautiful place. The only thing is that when it's cool under this palapa, they call it here in Mexico, it's also windy. And so I want to make sure that it doesn't like beat up my microphone. So let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Thank you, Jija. Jija is saying, oh, is it Gig Ambrel? Thank you for that. So, but maybe it hasn't picked up yet. All right. Well, I'm going to try my best. Just covering the microphone now. All right. So let's talk about protein powders here today. And we've just released our own on wellena.com. And I want to take some time just to talk about it, because I know many of you are consuming pea proteins, whey protein, collagen. And so I want to talk a little bit about this to do a bit of education, and you can make your own decision of where you stand with your protein. And I don't want to demonize anything, because there could be people who are doing great with pea protein. There are people who are doing perfectly fine with whey protein, and there's others who don't. And that's really who I formulated this product for, is that, there are some women like myself, for example, who don't do well with whey. And so let me give you like a quick backstory. For those of you who don't know, I spent about 6 months out of a year in a camper van in Mexico in a warm climate, because I feel my body just loves the dry, warm climate. I have a big fancy house in Colorado in the mountains, and I typically rent it out during winter, because I enjoy 2 months of the winters, but not 6, 7, sometimes 7 months of winters that we have, like, snow dumps. We still have snow like until the end of May, right? So I have a camper van, and one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that when you live in a camper van, there's actually a lot more stuff that you need to do around your life as compared to, when you live and you are like in a routine back home. And so I was noticing that I was really running out of time for making too many meal preps. And I started shopping for protein powders, just to see what can I do to have least processed, most nutritious kind of a protein powder. And I still wanted protein because I was going through perimenopause. I am now in postmenopause, but and I still need protein, right? And so I was very diligent about getting those like about 25 to 30 grams of protein in every meal. And my only options was whey protein, pea protein. I don't even consider collagen a protein, so I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But it's so, and then when I started digging deeper into this. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm an endocrine nutritionist, and so I know a bit about this stuff, right? But I also know what my body responds well to. So I love the taste of whey. The problem was that I have a problem with dairy. So I instantly started getting constipated. I started having zits on my face. And that typically happens with all my responses to dairy. And one of the things that many of you may not realize is the fact that whey and dairy in general can be a big cause of constipation. It can cause autoimmune reactions, like bringing up suddenly rheumatoid arthritis or some body pains or aches. And it can be highly inflammatory. For those of you who are dealing with like rosacea, eczema, I'm not saying dairy is the only reason, but it could be like that hidden reason a lot of women don't realize actually doesn't agree with them as much as they love the taste, they like the texture, because it's kind of like milky, right? It dissolves really easily. And that's what makes it so wonderful and so popular. So dairy does not agree with me. And I also know that a lot of women just cannot do dairy. And so that was a no for me. The other thing of consideration was that, we manufacture supplements. I know this industry really well, and who I can or cannot trust and what's on the label. or on a website. And that was the fact that I had a lot of questions about sourcing. Like, did this cow come from a grass-fed animal that was well treated, humanely slaughtered? Or did it come from these horrible industrial lots that these cows are injected with antibiotics, given GMO crops, and then given growth hormones for quick muscle build? And so depending on who is it made by and where the facility, which facility is made in, you always want to look at for something called a CGMP. So GMP stands for Good Manufacturing Practices. CGMP facilities are the ones that have a department of lawyers and compliance experts who will dictate what we can or cannot say on the label. So like, for example, all these things that we have on the label is not just like what my designer just slapped on it, but it's actually stuff that has been cleared by the lawyers, what we can or cannot say. So that was my big question. Like, when the sources were not disclosed, I was like, where is this cow? Where did it come from? Where did the whey come from? So those were my two main reasons why I did not want to use whey to formulate something for us. And then the second one was, so let's talk a little bit about pea protein here. And let me know if you are consuming whey and if what are your questions on it. And again, I don't want to demonize it, because some of you might be thinking, like, hey, I'm drinking whey and I don't have any of those problems and I'm feeling fantastic. Great, don't change. Like, if you don't want to, there's no need to change, don't change it, right? If you're feeling fantastic, you have no problems with your GI, your skin is clear, you don't have any inflammatory like responses to things, right? Then don't do it. But if you are struggling, then maybe it's time to look at something different. And then the other thing that I came across was obviously the pea protein market. And that market I find really problematic in many ways, because it is what's called greenwashing. Greenwashing in marketing means that you're making all these really fancy claims of plant protein being healthy, and then it's got all these superfoods in it, right? Like, I'm pretty sure many of you here are using those kind of protein powders when it's got all the superfoods like reishi and acai and this and that. I'll come to this in a second. And my challenge with that was that pea protein, number one, is super hard to digest. In fact, I have colleagues who sell pea protein for many years, and they've actually developed a pea allergy and an intolerance, so much so they can't even eat peas, like regular peas. They're high in lectins, so some people are sensitive to that kind of stuff. And I just generally feel like these peas are just hard to digest. So if you're finding yourself having like constantly GI problems, right, then maybe it's time to consider something different. My second challenge with pea protein is that, like any plant-based protein, is not a complete protein. It doesn't give you the essential amino acids that help you build muscle, that helps your metabolism. And so I remember that in perimenopause, and that's why this is my focus, because perimenopause was me when I was looking for something, and that is you, and that's our audience. Majority of our audience are going through perimenopause, is the fact that our GI starts changing. Why? Because as your estrogen starts dropping, the diversity of the microbiome starts changing too, and that as a result of that, we start developing a lot more GI problems as compared to when you were in your 20s and 30s. And who here, just raise your hand or just say yes to GI if that's you. I certainly feel a lot more sensitive to foods as compared to before. Before, I could have cheese on a pretty regular basis, no big deal. Now, if I eat cheese regularly, that would include whey, I get like serious IBS. So I have it occasionally, but it cannot be a regular thing. So pea protein, I feel like it's really hard on digestion. To me, taste-wise, number 3 problem is that taste-wise, it tasted like ground up furniture. I don't like the taste at all. And then they try to mask it with all these stevia and this and that, right? And I don't know, I just feel like it's just, I still taste it and I think it's horrible, and it's kind of gritty and ugh. So, and then lastly, I would say that in order to have like a decent amount of grams of protein in the pea protein, you need to have a lot of it, right? Which is just like, now like the whole smoothie just tastes like, I don't know, flour to me. And so it tends to have less protein per serving. For example, we didn't have to try really hard. For ours is already 23 grams of protein per scoop, right? It's just easy because it's a beef isolate. So this is the reason why I didn't want to do that. But the other thing, I was just beginning to talk about this with the pea protein market, is that a lot of the superfoods, right, are, advertised as like the first thing to get you interested and to get you to buy it, right? I plan to do some reverse engineering on it and actually send those products off to the lab to really see how much of the product of the superfood is really there. But one other thing you can do, you can do, all of us can do, is just look at the ingredients. Like when you have the ingredients listing, just look at what's the first ingredient, right? And it's gonna be like pea protein, there's other things, and all sorts of fillers. And it's only somewhere at the bottom or the middle of bottom, you'll be like, oh, there is acai and there is reishi mushrooms and whatever. And I think that's total bullshit. Like you're getting such minute amount per serving that is functionally irrelevant. Meaning like if you want something good, then you just buy reishi powder and put it in your tea or coffee. That's functionally, that has a relevance to your health. When it's just like a little sprinkle, you're just buying the hope that it's going to do something, that is misleading. And I really, really dislike that kind of marketing. That's part of the reason why we decided to make her protein with just 5 ingredients and making it really, really simple, right? And that is, and if you want to put any superfood in there, whether it's acai or reishi or maca or matcha or whatever else you want, you just add that to the smoothie. And I also believe that, the other challenge with a lot of both whey does it and pea protein makers do is there's like a long list of synthetic stuff in there, right? And I'm thinking, you're just getting a little bit of everything. It's a fairy sprinkle of everything. It's synthetic. I would rather, again, remember that I made this protein powder for myself first when I travel, okay? And I know we ordered, there's a big amount to manufacture but the truth is I made it for me first and then for you guys too, is that, it's that I believe that the food, all the superfoods and whatever, all your like really great nutrients should be coming from real food. And so this is the reason why we have a QR code at the back here that you can scan. When you buy the bag, you scan it and you can get recipes from us that are low sugar. And there's a couple of no sugar recipes at all using just fruits and vegetables. So fruit is always going to be sugar, but vegetables actually. So for those of you who are maybe like keto, you don't want to do sugar, that's a really great option to use as well. And that way you're packing your food with like proper nutrients and not just hope to get like a fairy sprinkle and, and think that it's actually doing something for you, because it's not. So, so I'm kind of bashing these things here, but it's because it was just truly my own journey. If you told me 2 years ago I'm going to develop my own protein powder, I'd be like, nah, I'm an herbalist. I'd rather create products around herbs and continue doing what we were doing with Welena, develop more topical stuff. For those of you who've been here for a while, like we have creams, for example, for breasts, for fibrocystic breasts, for fibroids, all of that stuff. Like we have wonderful products, and I'd rather do stuff like that. But then when I started traveling, I'm like, so there's a couple of beef isolate products I found, and I thought they tasted horrible. Like there was just this gamey taste to it. I just couldn't stand it. So so I'm sharing this with you because it's a very personal story to me of like why we decided to go with a beef isolate. I have no interest in beef isolate. It's not like I own a company that does beef isolates. You know what I mean? Like it is just purely based on my own needs and what I thought is what lacks in the market. On top of that, let me just see if there's any questions or comments on from you guys. So let me know what protein powders are you currently using. I'm very curious. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is let's talk about why we put in inositol and creatine in her protein. So for those of you who don't know, there's only 5 ingredients in her protein. There's obviously the beef isolate. We have then creatine, inositol, organic vanilla powder, and then we have organic monk fruit, right? And you really cannot taste that monk fruit. Like it doesn't have any weird taste whatsoever. So the reason why we added inositol was because it actually came from my colleague and my friend who said, Steve Wright from Healthy Gut. Some of you may know him. because he's been here before. And he's like, why don't you put in inositol? It's great for metabolism. And I'm like, some of you may know inositol is something that's given to women with PCOS to kind of stimulate the ovaries and to help with lower testosterone levels, right, when it's high. So I thought, that's not my audience. My audience is much older. And then I started doing research on inositol. And true story, I was actually sitting at the airport in a city called Merida in Mexico last year this time. And I was catching a flight to Mexico City to go and do a long weekend with a few girlfriends. And I was so entrenched into the research of inositol that I actually missed my flight. They said, they did announce that there's a change of gate, and I just did not hear it. I did not have headphones on. I was very present, also I thought, but I was so taken aback how much research there is actually on inositol for women in postmenopause. So the objective is different. Fertility is not the goal. Stimulating our ovaries is not the goal anymore. And the benefits were so mind-blowing. And I'm like, why did I not know about this? And inositol has got a really nice taste to it. Like, it's got a slightly sweet taste to it as well. So we didn't have to mask anything. Inositol basically helps you with metabolism. So it helps to upregulate your insulin receptors. Many of you here who are dealing with belly fat, you're struggling with putting on weight, especially when you're consuming carbs and sugary stuff, and your HA1C is on the high side, or whatever you're dealing with, like a slower metabolism, inositol is your best friend in this space. So if you go to our website, if you just go to wellena.com, where you can check out her protein, we've actually included all the PMIDs and the studies, conclusions of those studies, just to show you how much incredible stuff there is around inositol. And then we put in creatine as well, 5 grams, because yes, it is a craze right now, but I think it's a good one for a change, And so we put that in, so you don't have to pay extra for it. So it's like, basically, I calculated, like, if you were to buy a protein powder and then inositol and creatine, you will pay around $90. When you're getting this for $59.99, all of that is included in one bag. So just simple math. Oh, these flies are terrible. So this is, this is where we are with inositol and creatine. So just 5 simple ingredients, and this is it. If you want more, like if you want minerals and vitamins, you put that in. All the superfoods, you just make that your own. And for that reason, we have included those smoothies that, like I said, you can scan the QR code here, and you get that as a PDF. And those ones will be really awesome in terms of they are very low in sugar. There's 1 or 2 of them that don't have any fruit whatsoever. We're using only vegetables and making it really tasty. So that's I think that's how you can really pack more nutrients into a smoothie. So somebody's saying she's using Truvani. Yeah, that's that again is the pea protein, right? That I was talking about, that I am not a fan at all of pea protein, and I think I've explained why. So I'm gonna make this super short and sweet today. If you have questions around our protein powder or any other protein powders, and just drop us a message. Go to wellena.com. There is a way to contact us and let us know what else we can do, and what questions do you have. I'm a stickler for what I put in my body, and I'm super, super particular what I put in my body. And if I created this for myself and my body loves it, I think your bodies are gonna enjoy it too. So, all right. Thanks for being here today. And this video is gonna get published just as I hang up. So for those of you who will come a little bit later, you can listen to it on replay in just a few minutes. All right. Wishing you a great day, everyone, and I will see you soon.